All right. DW Gaming with the developer update for Dead by Daylight. These are the changes from the September PTB. These will be going live. I think will be probably a week from this past Tuesday. So let's see. Today is the 3rd, 2nd, so the 8th. That's also when the Halloween event is dropping, I believe. Either the Halloween event or the new Rift. I can't remember which. Anyway, this is a very brief update, so just quickly go over these. The Mori update, they reverted the changes to the ebony memento mooring offerings and the green memento mooring offering. You can still perform Mories after 2-hooking a survivor with those offerings. They've made the yellow Mori offering the Cypress one base kit, which is all they really need to do. They didn't really need to do away with Mories. The other Mori offerings, they were fine. I understand wanting to incentivize using those offerings through blood points, but that would have made it so pretty much every match where the killer is winning, it would make it so every killer would slug for the 4K, and it incentivized too much of a slugging for the 4K situation with killers. So I'm glad they got rid of that. All they need to do is just make the yellow Mori base kit, and that's it. They don't need to do anything else. I think it's fine. So it says the Cypress Memento Mori offering is now obsolete and will be retired. We will offer 1 million blood points for any unused offerings. Does that mean 1 million blood points for each offering? Because that would be... I have a ton of those yellow Mori offerings. That would be insane, the amount of blood points I would get from that. I think it's maybe just 1 million for all of the offerings you have. It would be nice if it was 1 million for each unused offering, but I don't think that would be kind of crazy. It would definitely help in leveling up prestiging characters, that's for sure. But I think it'll just be 1 million for each player, because everyone has those offerings. So unless you play solely Survivor, which there are people who don't even touch killer, so whatever. The Skull Merchant. So they've given her back her haste. Skull Merchant gains 5% haste when a survivor is scanned within 5 seconds of placing a drone or changing its rotation. So here we go again. It sounds like they're just reverting her back to the way she was. Increase hindered effect when scanned by a drone to 8%. Increase drone rotation speed to 95 degrees per second. Decrease movement speed while deploying a drone or inspecting the radar 4.4. This was when she first came out. It made no sense when she first came out that she would be slowed by looking at the radar. Clown is not slowed when he's holding a bottle to throw it. Why is she slowed when looking at radar? It makes no sense. And people were saying, this is stupid. Why is she slowed to 4.4? Because this is not a new effect. As I said, this was when she first released. she was slowed when looking at the radar to 4.4, and it was stupid. So somehow some reason they're bringing this back, and they think it's going to make a difference. I mean, they have absolutely no clue what to do with this killer. They really don't. Fast falls are no longer detected by drones. Why? That seems rather random. So there was a leaked document. I'm not sure if it's true or not, but I saw it a little while back, and it said that the developer team that actually worked on this killer were fired, which I can understand, because you have a team that basically dropped a turd on their boss's desk and said, here's the newest killer. I mean, what did you expect to happen? And now the problem is they're gone, but this thing's still in the toilet and no one can seem to flush it. Because they keep having so many problems with this killer. They have no idea what to do. Horribly designed killer, horrible aesthetic, just a loser killer all around. I understand nobody likes going against this killer, and now they've made it so she's pretty much back to the way she was. None of the changes really took hold, except now she only has one scan line on her drones. But this is promoting her brain dead gameplay, where all she has to do at a loop is just poop out a drone, and that's it. You're hindered, and she gets haste. And so, I mean, not even like experienced Skull Merchant players, they'll say this is like one of the most unfun ways you could have gone about changing her. It's just, I don't understand what their problem is. They basically, all the changes that were on the PTB, they've reverted. The only thing that they kept was the single scan line for the drones. Now, I've heard True Talent mention this, and I agree with him. All you have to do to make her more tolerable for the survivor side is have it where if a drone scans you, have it on a decay timer where you get around your portrait down in the on the portrait section of the screen. There are 3 empty slots, and each time you're scanned, one of those slots fills up. And when you're scanned 3 times, you're then given a claw trap and you're broken. All they need to do is have it so there's a decay timer on being scanned. Kind of like with Ghostface's marked mechanic, where after a certain amount of time, the marked status goes away. Do the same thing with her. Make it so the drone scans decay over time. That way, if you have, say, 1 or 2 instances of being scanned, but you haven't been scanned a third time, and it's been, I don't know how many seconds they could do it, maybe 30 seconds or something like that. Who knows? One of those scans goes away, and then another 30 seconds, and you're completely, you haven't been scanned at all. That's all they need to do. That would make her a lot more fair to go against, because you shouldn't be able to lock onto a survivor and then they're permanently marked and they only need 2 more lock-ons from a drone and then they're injured. So that's a very good idea to change it. A very good way to change her. I would definitely implement that. Make it like Ghostface's marked mechanic where it decays over time. Just Not this. I mean, this is basically, as I said, the way she was. She's still going to be miserable to go against. Survivors are still going to rage quit against her. This killer has been a complete failure since day one. I don't know what they were thinking when they released her. Her mechanics are horrible. Her aesthetics are horrible. Just, I don't know. So, let's see what they say. While this update is intended to reduce the Skull Merchant's strength, we've received feedback that the changes may have gone too far. They found a compromise between the old and new versions. You just revert her back to the way she was. I mean, it's not really a compromise. You added this back in for whatever reason. I've no idea why. Yeah, they gave her the haste effect back. Okay, so we've reintroduced the haste effect for a short time after a drone is deployed or its rotation is swapped. This will reward the killer for using their power actively. It's not using your power actively. There's no strategy at all involved in using her power in any kind of way other than you see a pallet, you poop out a drone. That's it. That's the only thing. The only strategy. There's no forethought. There's nothing for any kind of skill expression with this killer. Once again, I mean, yeah, you can switch between the how the drones rotate clockwise or counterclockwise, but I mean, since there's only one scan line now, it doesn't really matter. It's still going to be easier for survivors to avoid it. Yeah, it's just there's it's exactly okay. This will reward the killer for using their power actively, rather than setting and forgetting or randomly gaining haste from survivors across the map. No, what you've done is the exact opposite of what this statement is saying. All she has to do is set it and forget. She sees where a survivor's running. Oh, survivor's running to a pallet. Poop out a drone. There. And she sets and forgets it. It's a complete opposite of what you're saying here. Are these guys self-aware when they write these things? I mean, I don't know. It's just it just amazes me. I'm stunned at the the sheer incompetence of this. Anyway, let's move on. Yeah, complete failure. The Hillbilly. Increase overdrive chainsaw movement speed to 12 meters per second was 11.5. Okay, so they gave him a little bit of a buff. All right. Distortion, reintroduced tokens. Tokens now recharge over 30 seconds while in chase, up to a maximum of 2. Okay. So it's not instant anymore, which is good. Because before, with distortion, all you would need to do on the PTB version, all you would need to do is just, even if the killer is chasing a teammate, all you would need to do is just go and go near that teammate so that the game recognizes that now you're being chased as well by the killer, and then just leave the chase and you would get it back. You would get it back instantly. So now it actually rewards staying alive in a chase for a significant amount of time. So you actually have to do well in a chase, which is a good direction. Players should be rewarded for doing well in the game. They shouldn't be given handouts just for random chance. So that's good. Okay. Zanshin tactics. Survivors who drop a pallet have their aura revealed for 8 seconds. Reintroduced aura reading for pallets and vaults. No longer reveals the auras of survivors near drop pallets. Okay, still, it's worthless. I don't think anyone's going to run this perk. They've reintroduced its original effect, which is fine. It was useful on killers like Doctor and maybe Wraith, but that's about it. And 8 seconds aura reveal, 10 if you use Lethal Pursuer. Might be useful. I don't know. It'll be used for anti-loop killers like Pyramid Head, Artist. I can see it being a useful perk. Any killers that can shoot over pallets, I would think it'd be useful. But yeah. Corrective action. Yeah, this perk was a huge problem. Huge problem. Corrective action once again turns missed skill checks into good skill checks. Good. It didn't need the great skill check crap. I'm glad they got rid of that. When corrective action activates, reveal the aura of the survivor who missed a skill check for a few seconds. Corrective action no longer has a range limit. That's bad. So I understand what they're trying to do here. It's twofold. They're obviously trying to balance for new survivor players who can't hit skill checks, which you play the game for any amount of time, you're going to get over that pretty quickly. But no, we have to balance for those players. Number 2, the regression on a generator from a missed skill check is 10%, I believe, which is not insignificant. So they're trying to make it so number 1 is more new player friendly. And number 2, they want less gen regression through missed skill checks, because 10% off a gen is better than most killer gen regression perks. This does not need to have unlimited range. Basically, they don't want people missing skill checks anymore. This obviously will help Swift immensely. And that's the problem. When you balance the game around new players, you also have to take into account that it will benefit experienced players as well. And you could have teammates one teammate who runs this, and the others who just don't even hit skill checks, and they'll still get good skill checks, and it won't matter where they are on the map. So the killer won't get notified if they miss a skill check. The 10% regression won't happen. This having unlimited range is not a good change. It's very Swift friendly, which is the most imbalanced part of this game. Swift does not need any help in this game. So we challenge you to push things to the limit on the PTB, and boy did you ever. Corrective action had some strong combos. So we're moving on to a new design. Yeah, you could use it in combination. You could have one survivor running corrective action. Then You have another survivor, they were on a gen with running fast track, running hyper focus. And they wouldn't even need to hit the skill checks. They could just miss the skill check entirely. It would be turned into a great skill check. You get an automatic stack of hyper focus, which, yeah, you had generators being completed in 15 to 20 seconds, which was obviously broken. So yeah, this is a good change except for this. It needs to have a range limit. Otherwise, it's putting killers at a disadvantage where they don't get the 10% gen regression and they won't get notified when someone misses a skill check, which is often a good way to find survivors. So this is problematic. I'm glad they reverted it back into good skill checks. The aura readings, whatever. Deathbound. Effect now ends when losing a health state. So what you would do is you would heal a survivor. I think it was the killer had to be a certain distance away. And the person healing the survivor would scream. They're revealing their position, and they would be oblivious until hooked. With the oblivious effect being removed only when hooked, Deathbound ended up being active for far too long in most cases. You do realize that there's a perk called Plaything, where if the survivor doesn't cleanse their totem, they're oblivious for the entire match. But apparently, it was too long for Deathbound. We've switched it to deactivate when a health state is lost, but kept the other improvements as is. Well, whatever. It's still a trash perk. I don't think anyone's going to run it. As I said, if you want survivors to be oblivious, just run Plaything. It'll give them an extra objective on top of it, so they'll be oblivious. And if they don't want to stay oblivious, they will have to cleanse their totem. Yeah, I don't know why you would run this over Plaything. So that's it. Thankfully short. As I said, this will be dropping on the 8th of October. Unfortunately, they've kept all the unknown changes. The unknown did not need to be touched. I have no idea why they're nerfing the unknown, other than to, once again, cater to players who don't actually know how to play Survivor in this game. So that's very disappointing. This is a waste of time. They should just, as I said, just make it so her lock-on meter decays over time. That would fix the majority of issues with her. But they pretty much reverted her back to the way she was, save for the drone scan line. Other than that, not much to talk about here. So I will always endeavor to keep people informed. Be sure to subscribe and like. And I will see everyone in the next video.